anticipating. And when I'm not sleeping, I feel the need for speed. Check it out.
Welcome to the Milwaukee Mile, America's oldest major speedway, where Paul Tracy and Penske Racing have already gone into the record books with the fastest lap of a 1-mile oval in PPG Kart World Series history. Today, they hope for another page of the record book. The all-time record for consecutive victories is held by Allis Jr., who claimed 4 in a row en route to the 1990 championship. In April at Nazareth, Pennsylvania, Unser's teammate Paul Tracy held off Michael Andretti for his first win in 28 starts. 2 weeks later, Tracy made it back-to-back wins, passing Bobby Rahal for victory in the Rio 400. Last week in St. Louis, Tracy's streak reached 3 as he passed Patrick Carpentier and stormed to the checkered flag. Today, Paul Tracy takes aim on his 4th straight win, the 100th for Penske Racing. On a beautiful summer day, the Milwaukee Mile is a stone sellout for round 7 of the PPG Kart World Series. Welcome to the Miller 200. Our story this weekend on America's legendary oval has been speed from front to back in the field. Gary Gerould is standing by with the fastest of the fast.
It is amazing what a man has been able to do in recent weeks, as you documented, winning 3 in a row. But to come into this racetrack, obliterate a track record as Paul Tracy has done by some 19 miles per hour, borders almost on the absurd. He sits now in the cockpit. Paul, are you feeling any pressure whatsoever as you try to go 4 in a row and win the milestone event for your boss, Roger Penske?
There's pressure every race, but you know, we feel good with the Marlboro car. It was good this morning. It's going to be a long race. It's hotter than it's ever been, so we're going to really have to pay attention to the handling and just, you know, ride this one out and see what we can do.
He's been a bullet. He starts from the pole. He's got plenty of speed right next to him, Jan Beekes.
That's right. Next door is Mauricio Guzman. Another stunning performance in qualifying. Let's talk to him about tires. He's on the softer option tires for Firestone. You told me 150 laps you ran on those without a problem. Does that give you confidence for the race, Mauricio?
Actually 115, but that was great, which is a sign that it's still too hard. Today's a little bit warmer, but I feel confident that we're going to have a balanced car all through the race.
All right, he's looking for a balanced car. He's been the best qualifier this year so far, Gary.
And right behind him in the outside of the second row, Patrick Carpentier, driving for Tony Bentonhausen, came oh so close to getting the first victory in the most recent event at Gateway. He's got fans cheering along the fence right now. He smiles as he responds to it. He can't wait to mash the throttle. He has been like a bullet himself. So much speed on this 1-mile oval, so tightly bunched together, and we're just within moments of turning them all loose. Jan?
Raul Boesel, of course, had the track record that was absolutely just shattered by Paul Tracy this year. Raul, I know that's no big surprise to you, but you had a bit of a disappointing run in qualifying. How do you look at your chances for the race?
Well, I think we start in a good place. My Brahma car ran well. We have a little bit of a big moment to qualify. The car went quite loose. I was surprised even to do the time we did, but you know, just follow the front row and see what's happening in the race.
Raul Boesel starts on the inside of row number 2. Got a little bit loose. Hopes it won't happen today. Bob?
All right, thank you, gentlemen, and hello, everyone. I'm Bob Barcia, along with Danny Sullivan. Danny, you've been telling me all weekend how much you love this racetrack. Now, tell me why.
Well, mile ovals are always great racetracks, but this one's particularly good. Short straightaways, long corners, passing 2 and 3 cars abreast going through the corners, always in traffic. It's fabulous.
What is it about this racetrack that makes it so easy to pass and produces so much speed?
Well, the corners are pretty flat, and it's very, very wide. So from the beginning, from the grass to the wall, which is where they tell you can pass, it's always the same groove out there, and you can get out and by somebody going well, and somebody will come right around the outside of you.
As car owner Ralph Wilkie once said, at the Milwaukee Mile, you have to go like hell just to stay out of the way. This is going to be an incredibly exciting race. Now, we've mentioned that Paul Tracy is going for 4 victories in a row, the 100th for Penske Racing. Explain the success of Penske. You produced many of those victories for Roger yourself. Why are they so good?
Roger Penske, he's the key. He's the most competitive guy in the pit lane, and Roger wants to win worse than anybody out there, even with all those wins, all those 500s, all those championships. He wants it worse than anybody.
Well, they got off to a great start this weekend. Clint Mears, Rick Mears' son, won the PPG Firestone Indy Lights race here at Milwaukee. Now let's get things started with that famous command.
Gentlemen, it's Miller time. Start your engines.
who just saw Greg Moore's car fire up. You're going to make the engineering calls today. First of all, what do you expect for handling and, of course, fuel strategy?
Well, I think everybody's going to try and make it a two-stop race if they can. We're going to need the yellows right about at the right time, so we'll see. It could turn into 3, but the track's been pretty consistent, so we're hoping that it's going to be much like it was yesterday. If not, we'll be making some changes during the race.
All right, thank you, Steve. Obviously, they're telling us, hey, clear the grid. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Roger Penske has already cleared the grid. Roger, you're on the threshold of an outstanding milestone, a possible 100th victory. Is this race any different for you today?
Well, we got to look at it at one race at a time. Certainly, being a 100th race, there's a lot of pressure now because people have elevated that. But I told Paul and I told Al we got to win this race because it's the next race. And hopefully we can execute the way we have the last few races. And the team has done very well to date. And certainly coming off the last year, I said, let's talk about 97. So let's talk about the 100th win.
Cars are rolling. Bob Barsha, thanks, Roger.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Let's get right to it with the starting grid for today's Miller 200. On the pole, Paul Tracy, the new track record holder and winner of the last 3 races in a row. He starts alongside Mauricio Gugelmin, who's had 4 top 10 finishes this season. Row 2 is Raul Boisel, who equaled his best career finish of 2nd here in 1993. Patrick Carpentier will be alongside. His best finish came last week with a 2nd in St. Louis. On row 3, Greg Moore, who finished 7th in his only previous start here in Milwaukee. Parker Johnstone will be next to him. His best career finish on an oval came last week at Gateway, 7th place. Row 4 will be Dario Franchitti, who led his first race last week before being sidelined with gearbox trouble. Scott Pruitt will be alongside back after a hard crash last week. On row number 5, Al Unser Jr. looking to break his slump and give Penske that 100th win. He'll be next to Roberto Moreno, who outqualified his teammate, 5-time winner Michael Andretti. Row 6 will be Mark Blundell. The Englishman with the Pac West team starts alongside Jimmy Vasser. The defending series champion has scored points in every race thus far this year. Row 7 is Bobby Rahal, making his 17th start at Milwaukee, but he has never won here. Next to him will be Michael Andretti, the defending Miller 200 winner with 5 victories on the Milwaukee Mile. Row 8, Gilles de Ferran, a 3rd last week, his best finish of the season, and Walter Salas, who had the best finish of his young kart career, 12th at Gateway last week. Row 9 will be Alex Zanardi. Only he and teammate Jimmy Vasser have scored points in every race this year. He'll be next to Brian Herta, surprisingly off the pace this weekend, even in this morning's morning warm-up. Row 10 will be Andre Ribeiro, who scored only his 2nd top 10 finish of the season last week, and Max Pappas, the fastest of the Toyota-powered cars. They've showed some improvement this weekend. Row 11, Juan Fangio II, with hands up and all Dan Gurdy All-American Racers row. Fangio was actually 8th in the morning warm-up. B.J. Jones will be alongside. He made his first start in a kart race here last year. Row 12 will be Richie Hearn, one of 6 drivers making their first start on the Milwaukee Mile, and Adrian Fernandez starting a backup car after crashing yesterday in practice. Row 13, Michel Jourdain Jr. His best finish of the year came last week in St. Louis, and Paul Jasper, who missed practice on Friday while his car was being rebuilt after a crash a week ago. And on row 14, Hiro Matsushita, who did not post a qualifying time due to engine problems as he began to roll out. Here are the stories we'll be following today's Miller 200. Paul Tracy going to make it 4 in a row, Penske's 100th team victory. Cut tires have been a problem through practice and qualifying. Debris on the racetrack could be the cause of yellow flags today. Rise of the rookies. Last week at St. Louis, 2 rookies, Carpentier and Franchitti, each led the race. And where are Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr., winners of this race 7 times in the last 11 years? They're starting at mid-pack. Here are the numbers on the race. It's a 1.03-mile oval, 200 racing laps scheduled. That phenomenal pole performance by Paul Tracy. Down to Gary Gerald.
You mentioned the fact that we've had cut tires. Track inspections have produced the following. Look at all of this debris that's been picked up over 2 days of practice. You get up on the high groove, you run into a little piece like this, and on those razor-thin tires, it creates an air pressure problem. It deflates. That's one of the concerns if you run high out of the groove today. It's resulted in a change of racing procedures, Jan Mikas.
That's right, Gary. They've decided because of that debris that they are not going to use the double file restart that we saw Michael Andretti take advantage of last year. They don't want the cars running high where they can get a tire cut. Bob?
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Cars are on the backstretch in 2x2 file. We anticipate 3 pit stops, but if we get about 20 laps of yellow, some teams may try to make it in 2. As you saw, we have an absolutely packed house. The infield is covered. It's an annual event here in Milwaukee and has been for 94 years. Auto racing at the Wisconsin State Fairgrounds, tradition American open-wheeled racing. Coming down onto the front stretch, the green flag is up. It waves and we are underway. Paul Tracy leads into turn 1. Jimmy Vasser looking up the inside of Parker Johnstone. That's Greg Moore in the light blue car just ahead. But Johnstone goes wheel to wheel, 2 wide through 3 and 4. And now Johnstone switches down to the inside in the green and white machine for car owner Barry Green as Greg Moore begins to pull out a bit of a gap over this battle. Johnstone is 6th. Vasser is 7th. And this is exactly what we were talking about, Danny. Racing high, low, everywhere.
Well, that's right. And you think you pass the guy, go up underneath him on the inside, and he comes right around you on the outside.
Jimmy Vasser started 12th. He's already up to 7th as you see Paul Tracy with several car lengths on Mauricio Gugelmin running 2nd. There is Gugelmin, who has showed so much promise this year, still looking for that first victory in PPG Kart World Series competition. And then there is Raul Boisel, a 2-time pole sitter here. He too has never won. And then Patrick Carpentier, a tremendous addition to Tony Bettenhausen's team. What a thing it would be for them to win here today. A lot of folks were pulling for him. Big crash.
I believe that looks like Michel Jourdain right there.
Has cleaned off the left side of the car. We understand it is Jourdain with the Peyton Coyne team. Small fire at the back of the car. Driver is moving in the cockpit, now trying to get out is the young Mexican who became the youngest driver to start a kart sanctioned race. His first event, he was 19 years old, and that fire is building.
Yeah, but the safety truck is almost right there. They'll be on the scene as coming into the view right there.
You saw Jourdain, his body language indicating complete frustration. That is his 4th DNF of the year. That is down in the turn 4 area where we expect to see a lot of action as the day goes on. We'll take this opportunity for a timeout and be back with more from the Milwaukee Mile. Beautiful day at the Milwaukee Mile. We are under caution following a crash by Michel Jourdain Jr. on the 5th lap of the Miller 200. Up front, points leader Paul Tracy, who has led in all 5 of his starts here at Milwaukee. Always on the edge and one of the most competitive drivers on the kart circuit. Paul talked with us recently about his personality both on and off the track. The goatee and sideburns send a message. Paul Tracy is used to doing things his way, and his way is the racing life.
This is all I wanted to do, and that's what my focus has been. School was came second. Girlfriends came second. It was my family and myself going to races every single weekend. And if I needed to go, if my dad wanted me to go to a race and I was going to miss a month of school, then I'd miss a month of school.
Like other top drivers, Paul is able to channel his focus, becoming a different man in the car.
I like to go fast in everything I do. I'm not really that competitive outside of a race car. It's just when I put the helmet on, I turn into a different person. I guess I'm not very aggressive, around the paddock, but when the helmet goes on, look out.
Tracy's infamous aggression has its downside, however. This tangle with Alex Zanardi cost him a possible win in Australia. In Long Beach, he was fined $25,000, and the old rumors resurfaced.
There's been all kinds of times where I've been on the bubble in the media. It's no secret, that Penske's going to fire Tracy, but I've dealt with that for almost 6 years now. So I'm still, I still feel myself, because I put so much pressure on myself to perform and do well, that I've got to prove to myself every time out that I'm capable of keeping this job and keeping the spot that I'm in. And if I don't, then it's time for me to move on.
Right now, there's little danger of that. Paul Tracy is on a roll, and there's no better form of job security than a championship. There is Tracy. This is the 6th race of the 7 this year that he has led. He's out front. We'll take a timeout and return. Green flag coming up on the Milwaukee Mile.
It took months of preparation, but it's finally here.
It's out of this world.
It's no interest until the year 2000 at Goldenberg's Furniture. Goldenberg's takes you into the next millennium with this historic offer. 0% interest until the year 2000 on the best furniture selection to be found anywhere.
Anywhere.
It's no interest until the year 2000 at Goldenberg's Furniture. Trademarked in downtown Corbin and uptown Somerset since 1904.
Light years ahead of the competition.
See store for details.
Build a lifetime of memories in a home of your own. For over 2 decades, Rollins Realty has assisted families like yours in finding their dream home. For the biggest investment you'll make, for those you treasure the most, call Rollins Realty. Good memories are made at Rollins Realty. Call for your real estate needs.
Tomorrow, don't call them New York's other team. Todd Hundley and the upstart Mets fight the fish at Shea. Then, at 10:30, Barry Bonds does it at home, does it in the field. Biggest part of the Bay Area back patrol. He'll lead the G-Men down to L.A. to do with the Dodgers. Marlins Mets at 7:30, Giants Dodgers at 10:30. The Wednesday doubleheader tomorrow on ESPN.
Back to the Milwaukee Mile. Paul Tracy leads. We are still under caution. Green flag coming up shortly. It's been an interesting weekend in more ways than one for Tracy. More on that. Here's Gary Gerald.
Paul Tracy, Bob, of course, leads the championship point standings, and Alex Zanardi is number 2 and trying to close down. They had a confrontation on the racetrack of the streets of Surfers Paradise, Australia, that has spilled over into recent events. And in fact, yesterday, in a practice session, Zanardi was extremely angry as he got out of his car, ran up, confronted Tracy at the end of the session, and accused him of trying to block him deliberately or get into him on the racetrack. The emotion of the moment was very, very hot. The chief steward, Wally Dallenbach, sat down with both drivers. They diffused the situation, they say. Everything is cool. But believe me, this rivalry is hot. Jan Beekes?
Bernie Myers is the man on the other end of the radio with Michelle Jourdain. Did he say anything about the accident? Do you know what happened?
Now, we've been fighting the car for 3 days. The Lowells are really struggling here. We made some changes between the warm-up this morning and the race. Unfortunately, we made the car loose. That's what you want here. Unfortunately, we're in the fence. We ran well at Rio and Madison. We're disappointed today.
All right, they still have one car in the race, though. Bob?
All right, thank you, Jan. During the yellow flag, Paul Jasper, Jourdain's teammate, pitted, as did Adrian Fernandez. They run 25th and 26th, the last cars in the field. Now, we have word that Alex Zanardi may have a problem with debris in his left side radiator. That could be a big problem because we are about to go green. As Paul Tracy leads the field off the corner, we take green, we restart on lap 14 of 200. And Patrick Carpentier immediately strikes, taking Raul Boisel out of third.
He just set that one up so nicely coming off 4. He just got to run on him, and looks like he's trying to move up on Big Mo there.
Keep in mind, Patrick Carpentier is in his 7th career start in this series. He's driving the Milwaukee Mile like a veteran. Right now, he's working on Mo Gugelmin for 2nd.
I think Big Mo's seen that move before. He's going to have to be a little bit closer, wheel to wheel with before he's going to give that corner up with that kind of move.
The closing laps at the incredibly fast Gateway International Raceway a week ago was a back and forth over the radio between Patrick Carpentier and his car owner, Tony Bettenhausen. Bettenhausen saying, slow down, we want to finish, we're running low on fuel. Carpentier, as the rookie, saying, no, I want to go for it. I want to try to win this race. I want to hold off Tracy. Great stuff.
Well, that's what you want out of a driver. You want to be pulling him back rather than having to whip him forward, you know. He's got that enthusiasm. Remember on the mile ovals, too, as the run goes along, people's cars change. They got to run 60 laps. So as the fuel load lightens, the cars tend to go more loose. So the guys we see run strong right now might be fading toward the end of that fuel load.
And Danny, I'm sorry, Bob, just to let you know that the actual call that Tony Bettenhausen made was the right one. They had no fuel left in that car when the race was over.
See the running order at the upper left with the speeds. The order is Tracy, Gugelmin, Carpentier, Boisel, Moore, Johnstone, Vassar, Pruitt, Franchitti, Michael Andretti rounding out the top 10. Michael is coming forward. there at Greg Moore, who's been a threat at virtually every round of the championship thus far this year.
See Greg Moore taking that high line coming off. Oftentimes that means that you have a pushing car with a little bit of, oh, look how high you can run out there.
Saw the gaps between them as they've ebbed and flowed over the last few laps. This is a track that really suits Raul Boisel with 2 poles here. He's finished as high as second.
It also really suits a car that's pushing at the beginning of the run, because as the fuel load lightens, the car will go a little bit more neutral. And if you start off neutral, you're going to go real loose, and that makes the car very tough to drive.
The Brahma team and Pat Patrick Racing told me before the race the drivers say the cars are walking a little bit across the racetrack, but they didn't want to do too much to stop that, thinking they could get the race to come to them.
Greg Moore told me that his car was about the same as a race car as it was when he qualified. He says there was no difference because they haven't had any time to test, so only really had one setup, which I don't think bodes well for everybody else in the field.
Boisel in the bright day-glow orange car. Light blue is Greg Moore. Flashing down into turn 1. The drivers lift here and then ease on the throttle as soon as they dare. Moore closing noticeably now. Boisel has slower traffic ahead of him.
That's the Big Mo right there in your red and white car, and the bright blue and white one right there behind you is Patrick Carpentier. That's a battle for second spot,
and
they're in traffic.
Paul Jasper comes down. We'll take a break and be back in a moment.
From 35 degrees below zero to 475 degrees above, nothing outperforms Mobil 1. New Mobil 1 0W30. Superior protection when you start your car.
This is where Roger Staubach got his start. This is where Jimi Hendrix got his. Chances are, you weren't there. But you can be here at the Toyota Atlantic Championship, where Indy 500 victors like Bobby Rahal and Kart Series winners like Michael Andretti began their race to the top. That's why it's called the Cradle of Champions. One thing about this cradle, it really rocks.
Well over halfway to the X Games, Mike and Lawrence stopped to go rock climbing with Mia Axon. Before tackling the wall, Mia suggested the fellows fuel up with plenty of high-energy food. In the climbing world, we call it carbo loading. Mike Mitchell, Denver, Colorado, with a big carbo load coming on.
The X Games, coming soon.
Body of a pickup, soul of a race car, horsepower by the truckload. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series presents the Pronto Auto Parts 400 from Fort Worth, Texas, Friday at 8 on ESPN.
Welcome back live to the Milwaukee Mile. College baseball's best take to the field. Only one team will be crowned champion. Look for the future Major League Baseball stars at the College World Series here on ESPN. Game 5 is coming up next at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. A great view from high overhead as the Miller 200 unfolds. These views being provided by the Miller Eagle airplane. Miller Brewing is using the Eagle as an exciting new way of providing fans with aerial views on sports TV. And we have a great race right now. The red, white, and blue car of Mauricio Gugelmin being pursued not only by Patrick Carpentier, Greg Moore is there as well. They are second, third, and fourth.
And look what traffic's doing. Patrick Carpentier tried to go down the inside. There was a slow. He's in traffic trying to get around the outside right there. Ooh, traffic plays such an important part here.
And here comes Carpentier trying the outside of Gugelmin.
See, Big Mo's got to take that line because of the two slower cars in front of me. And look at Patrick's going to try to go down the inside. And Greg Moore's going around the outside. Whoa! Greg Moore, did you see him get sideways there? See the car twitching?
Oh, and Carpentier got the worst of that one. He hasn't been able to get around the two slower cars ahead of him. Well, Greg Moore and Mauricio Gugelmin did. Paul Jasper is just ahead of Gugelmin. He's a lap down to race leader, and now Greg Moore comes underneath Gugelmin, goes right by.
I'd say Greg Moore's car is working pretty good in traffic. That's a big indicator right there. Everybody was feeling their way through, a little bit tentative, couldn't really make the move around the outside, and Greg Moore just smokes them all right down the outside. Right down the outside.
Greg Moore got rolled behind Paul Tracy, who's been able to open a little bit of a gap while Moore battled behind them. Great shot of the Milwaukee Mile down below. Set in a neighborhood environment. There are houses just outside the back straightaway.
Really working. He's closed all that gap on Paul Tracy.
Moore with a Reynard chassis, Mercedes Power and Firestone tires. Paul Tracy with the Penske proprietary car. Thus far, Goodyear has won all of the oval races this year. Greg Moore appears to be determined to change that.
Greg told me just a few minutes ago, or actually right before the start of the race, that this was the best he felt that he had in a car of all the races he's done. And he's led quite a few of them.
Sponsored Reynard for Archie Wells Racing.
Now, Bob, this is what I was talking about. You asked me why I thought this was such a great racetrack. You're looking at it right now.
What was that line you told me? You pass anywhere from the grass to the wall?
Gordon Johncock told me that the first time I showed up here. Scared me to death.
Moore just pushed and then suddenly backed off. Making things even more difficult to pass. 24 of the cars in this race were within 1 second in the morning warm-up. Once again, Moore down to the inside of Tracy. He's going to try
to show you, look how many laps they ran behind Max Pappas, who's running in 20th spot, and they weren't exactly closing on him. He was doing a very credible job.
Moore didn't need Pappas, but now Pappas slows Tracy off of 2. These pictures from our Honda Helican. Greg Moore able to open up an advantage over Paul Tracy, who has to get out of it with Pappas on the line.
That means to me that Tracy's car's not working as well as he'd like to, because normally you'd see Paul Tracy go right around the outside.
Now here comes Big Mo Gugelmin calling on Tracy. Paul Tracy may find himself in third in a moment. He's up high with slower traffic ahead. Gugelmin looks down the inside. We'll take a break and be back to the Milwaukee Mile in a moment.
What now? You're using the wrong tool.
Ford F-Series with the world's only standard third door. And available new 5.4-liter Triton V8 for even more torque and horsepower.
Now you got all your holes dug, huh?
The new Ford F-Series, built Ford tough.
The new Firestone FT70C was tested at 50 miles per hour against the Goodyear Aqua 2. The difference in the Firestone tire is Unity technology. The Firestone FT70C stopped an average of 12 feet shorter than AquaTread 2. Your results will vary, but that's a lot of feet. The difference is Unity technology in the new Firestone FT70C. Get a $25 certificate from the Sharper Image when you buy 4 Firestone FT70C tires.
Nothing. For a moment, I thought your parents were home.
outside of Raul Boisel. But look, he's making a move. He got up on the inside because of the slower car. I think that was Richie Hearn on the outside. Traffic plays such an important part on these miles, but it can also come back and launch you the other way. You can win on one and lose. Dive down to the inside.
That's Raul Boisel in 5th place, just ahead of Michael.
Michael making a great move. They had problems with the car Friday and Saturday. Turned out it was something in the system. It's Michael Andretti's radio. 50 laps into the race, minus 11 seconds on the leader. Minus 11 seconds is about a half a lap.
Checking Michael's hands there for excessive steering input. See how the car is handling. Greg Moore is the leader, leading for the 2nd race. PPG Kart World Series competition. You see the field and their gap to the leader in the upper left. There is Michael's progression through the field. From 14th, he is now in 6th.
So yellow.
We have action down into Parker Johnstone.
Driver's right, turn 2. Driver's right.
Michael's crew warning him, driver's right in turn 2, or Parker Johnstone.
Steer had never touched anything, just did a 360 and kept going. This time it looks a little more severe.
To his crew and said the car had gone way loose, meaning the back of the car was trying to step out. Obviously, it stepped out big time for Parker and got lost.
Back there, he just lost it. He got the thing loose, backed it in there. Not too severe.
Probably about 160 miles an hour coming off that corner.
Not quite that fast, but you're pretty quick. But he had it sideways back in there, which means he had slowed down a little bit before. He was trying to hold the car, got on the brakes. Anytime you turn sideways, don't forget that scrubs speed off. It's not too bad for him, but I'm not so sure the mechanics think the same thing.
The pits are closed right now. When they are open, the lead lap cars will come in, and there is the signal. PPG safety car, driven by Gail Truist this weekend. With Greg Moore just behind. Parker Johnstone is out of the car. It appears to be fine. We'll see who pits this time around. And as Danny suggested, we suspect most all of the lead lap cars will pit.
See, they're all diving down there to the inside. They're all going to go. Don't forget, lead cars get to pit first.
Narrow pit entry here, 60-mile-an-hour speed limit, down to Young.
Greg Moore came in and just decided, no, I don't want any more front wing. Wow, that was a fast one. Incredible stuff for Greg Moore. Let's go to Gary.
And at the opposite end of the pits, the service for Paul Tracy will watch for Moore's car that should come from behind as they here goes Tracy lining it up, and he beats Moore out.
That's a tough one. That's got a lot to do with pit position because those were two great stops by both teams. But don't forget, Greg Moore's was the absolute first pit, and Paul Tracy's was the last one.
See the kart safety team there working on Parker Johnstone's car. There's Mo Gugelmin, who got back out in 3rd place among the top cars who pitted.
Every year, millions of gallons of motor oil are poured down drains, dumped on the ground, and tossed into landfills. It's a crime and shame for the environment and for everybody in it. That's why Advance Auto Parts brings free selling at every store 7 days a week. Bring your used motor oil to Advance and make the future a cleaner, safer.
Back in Milwaukee, Paul Tracy is the race leader after taking that lead during his pit stops. Auto fans take note. Coming up from Texas Motors Truck Series, the inaugural Pronto Auto Parts 400.
7th.
Down to Jan Bikas.
Well, Danny, you're talking about those stops and the changes of position down here. Remember, Greg Moore only 9. Have to actually slow down and bring it in. Remember, the
0.2 of a second difference at this end, and yet it got the job done for the Penske team and Paul Tracy into the lead. The service on Al Unser Jr.'s car was spectacular, as it was on Jimmy Vasser's. We're seeing some whirlwind pit stops here, the first of the day. We expect 2 more.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Here's a look at our pit summary. There you see the numbers on Tracy and Moore, who swapped the race lead in the pits. Mo Gugelmin went in and came out in 3rd spot. Vasser went up. Unser Jr. went up, and as Danny mentioned, Michael Andretti dropped back slightly. A packed house here at the Milwaukee Mile. There were fans lined up outside the gates this morning at about 6:30 a.m. local time. That's about 8 hours before the green flag flew over the Miller 200. They love their auto racing here in Milwaukee. With Roberto Moreno standing in for Christian Fittipaldi, and the news on Christian is good. He expects that he might be able to get back in the race car 2 races up the road when we hit the road course in Portland, Oregon. Bobby Rahal's car. Michael Andretti is for 5th place. Unser Jr. had it. Patrick Carpentier forces the issue on the inside and takes it as they go on to the backstretch.
And there's
the position away too early, and Al stays in it.
And Michael's sitting back there.
Just ahead is Jimmy Vasser. His position could be a factor in this battle. The rookie Carpentier will not lift. Neither will the man next to him. He has 225 or so starts in this series. A multiple series champion and Indy 500 winner in Al Unser Jr. He and Carpentier wheel to wheel, lap to lap with little Al.
Now what's happening too is this run goes on. These guys have all made adjustments on their car during that pit stop to try to fix whatever woes they had or whatever handling problems. They'll run it through there, and then they'll make another adjustment the next time and hopefully have it right for the run to the flag.
That's how the look back from Jimmy Vasser's car. His teammate Alex Zanardi runs back in 17th place. Parker Johnstone has made it back to the pit area. He's with Jan Bikas.
Bob, he has just been released from the medical center. First of all, you okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
What happened?
Well, the last few races, we've had a debilitating understeer during the race that we thought we could go lose.
Racking up a DNF. Meanwhile, the battle on the racetrack between Jimmy Vasser and the bright red target car with the yellow roll hoop, and Patrick Carpentier was not intimidated by this place one bit. Slower car to the right.
Of course, those guys can't get locked up in that pedal. He's taking a look right around the outside on Patrick Carpentier.
They have Adrian Fernandez in the car.
Sit back and relax and think, well, I'll wait till the next lap and get this guy if you make.
Michael Andretti watching everything in front of him with interest. Why he was lacking the front running speed that the car showed early in the year.
Well, I talked to his chief mechanic, Tim Bumps, who used to be my chief mechanic. And Tim said they had tried an experimental suspension or just a different geometry. Didn't quite work right, and they had to make the change. They realized there was problems.
While the battles subside for a moment, there's the running. 72 laps complete. Stay with us.
From 475 degrees above zero to 35 degrees below, nothing outperforms Mobil 1. New Mobil 1 0W30. Superior protection when you start your car.
If you have a money-back guarantee, that means you're showing 100% confidence in your product. To me, that's awesome.
During our 40 million split fires celebration, you'll get the lowest split fire prices in history.
It's a big deal to me.
And that's guaranteed too.
That's awesome.
Introducing the 1997 Miller Lite stock car.
Sure beats other sedans. The new Miller Lite Indy car. No radio, no heat, but hey, look at that handling. And if it's acceleration you're after, take a look at the Miller Lite Top Fuel Dragster. It leaves everything else at the light. Every Miller Lite car comes with our 16-second roadside system.
Back at the Milwaukee Mile where Paul Tracy leads. Tonight's Sunday night baseball game of the week should be a great one. The hot-hitting Cleveland Indians behind David Justice and Matt Williams take on the Baltimore Orioles. Cal Ripken and Brady. Sunday night baseball game of the week. Jan Beekes in the pit lane has more on Greg Moore in second.
That's right, Bob. We came in for that pit stop. We checked with the team. Remember at the opening of the show, Steve Chalice said it would be a two-stop race. Well, when they came in under yellow, that is still in the window for 2 stops, and they also made no changes for Greg Moore.
Moore continues to close on Paul Tracy. Able to pass him on the racetrack for the race lead, but then the Penske team put Tracy back in the lead with an immaculate pit stop.
Paul seems to run very well when he has a clear track in front of him. He seems to struggle a little bit in the traffic. Greg Moore really closes on him when he gets in the traffic situation.
And that was the situation he could get his Milwaukee Mile. Moore drops back again in 1. Ooh, Matsushita went up high to get out of the way and now is very slow.
Well, I would think that he got up in the gray and the car started walking a little bit on him and decided he better back out of the throttle and get it back on track.
That wall coming up at you at these speeds will get your attention.
And that gray area closes on him when he gets in the traffic situation.
And that was the situation a week ago in St. Louis. Paul came from third to second, found himself with some open track and almost surprised himself that he was able to run down Patrick Carpentier. Ever see an auto race in a Super Bowl? You're watching one today. Back in 1939, the NFL champion. Down below Tracy, but he can't get it done going into the turn.
Now see how he pulls away there. That's because Greg has to lift out of it. Couldn't hold that line and keep his throttle on.
Hiro Matsushita just ahead.
See, look at him closing here. See how he runs through 4, just so quick through 3 and 4.
See if he can use Matsushita's car. No, Tracy will go low to make the pass on the Japanese driver. Moore drops back again in 1. Ooh, Matsushita went up high to get out of the way and now is very slow.
Well, I would think that he got up in the gray and the car started walking a little bit on him and decided he better back out of the throttle and get it back on track.
That wall coming up at you at these speeds will get your attention.
And that gray area out there outside the line can be very slippery.
Saw the speeds for the last lap, just under 160 miles an hour. You can almost see the line from these overhead shots.
It'll be the darker part on your screen, not that real black strip. That's part of the line, but even it's dark a little out of that.
Let's check in with Michael Andretti. Allenser Jr. just ahead of him. Allenser Jr. is 6th, Andretti 7th. For the lead, Greg Moore goes underneath Paul Tracy into 1 where he wasn't handling him before. I wonder if he got him by surprise or just got that great run off of 4 that you talked about, Danny.
I would imagine he got a good run off of 4. Probably was aided a little bit by traffic.
And Michael Andretti goes underneath Allenser Jr. for 6th.
Not a good lap for Penske Racing there.
Oh, my. Winningest active drivers in the series. Michael Andretti working his way up. Remember, he started back in 14th. He's now 6th. Once again, Greg Moore is out in front of Paul Tracy. Mauricio Gugelmin is 2nd. 3rd. Jimmy Vasser 4th. Patrick Carpentier 5th. And then Michael Andretti, with whom you ride. There's Carpentier just ahead of Andretti. Not Not taking anything away from Paul Tracy a week ago in St. Louis, but there would have been a lot of smiles up and down the pit lane if Tony Bettenhausen's man had held on to win that race.
Tony's very popular and a great guy. Raced for many years himself.
He has a new star in the former Canadian speed skater, Patrick Carpentier. Greg Moore remains on the lead as we approach 90 laps complete of 200 scheduled. Jan Bikas.
Yes, consider the tire ramifications as well. Of course, we got Firestone and Goodyear. Firestone are on Greg Moore, Goodyear on Paul Tracy. It does seem as though possibly the Firestone tires are starting to come to the front as they run longer. Remember, Gugelman said these tires were good for 115 laps. Gary?
Update on Paul Tracy. They say the car's handling all right. Their biggest concern, though, is dealing with the traffic. They say there's no real problem. Obviously, he's got his hands full in this traffic situation. Gugelman, on his pit stop, they took the tire pressures up on the front, reduced them on the back. He has reported to the crew that maybe the pressure's now too high.
That's always a difficult thing to guess on because you set those pressures cold in the pits. Tires aren't running, and as they build up, the pressure builds up, so does the tire pressure, so they got to guess at it a little bit. Of course, these guys are very experienced at that guessing. They do it every weekend, but it's still somewhat of a guess.
Greg Moore puts Max Pappas between himself and Paul Tracy for the moment, and Mauricio Gugelman is the red, white, and blue car moving back into the picture behind Tracy. Look at Paul Tracy looking for that fourth consecutive win. Greg Moore has Paul Jasper just ahead of him. He takes care of Jasper. Great race for Jerry Forsythe's young star. Greg Moore is out front. If he wins, he'd become the youngest ever winner in series history. We've got a long way to go. Approaching the halfway mark. Stay with us.
We make changes day and night to increase performance. And after winning the PPG Cup Championship, racing tradition dictates we make one more. Which suits us just fine. Because as you can see, at Honda, we never stop improving.
What's the secret to their success? A little friendly competition.
Come on, give me a break. I'm the champ, remember that.
Hey, young man, where'd you get those? What can I say? You look great in that one.
Arrivederci, Jimmy. You better step on it. I do like the view from back there.
A storm rolling in, and Mom's not due for another hour.
Hey, what about me?
A pretty tight spot, unless you have MCI.
Starting to rain.
The kids dial one special number, and that one call goes to Mom's office, then to her cell phone, then right to her.
Get in, I'm so glad you called.
And Mom rolls in right before the storm.
Let me in the phone booth, Mom. There's no room, you dweeb. Dork, dweeb, dork.
Back at the Milwaukee Mile, the Milwaukee Master, Michael Andretti, looking back from Jimmy Vasser's car. Andretti has gotten around Patrick Carpentier for fifth, and now he's taking a bead on the series champion Vasser, running him fourth.
I'd say those suspension changes were working pretty well, wouldn't you?
From our Honda Helicam, you see the battle as Andretti just closes on the red car of Jimmy Vasser. That's Paul Jasper a couple of laps down, just ahead of Vasser at the bottom of your screen. Another look back from Vasser to Andretti. In 1991, it was Andretti Family Day here on the Milwaukee Mile. In a first for this series, Michael won the race. Cousin John finished second. Father Mario finished third. The first time in history, three members of the same family.
Halfway, Mike. Halfway.
Michael being alerted. I believe that's Lee White might be speaking to Michael, telling him you're at the halfway mark. Patrick Carpentier dropping back from this battle. Jan Bikas, does he have a problem?
Well, called into the pits and said, on the next stop, I want to take the front wing down one turn on both sides. Of course, that will tend to make the car push more. Right now, he's fighting the thing from going sideways.
And of course, as that fuel load lightens, look, there's Allis Jr. He got held up a little bit in traffic. Patrick says, hey, I saw this before with you. You didn't move over. I'm not moving over.
I've already passed you once. I don't want to have to do it again.
Yeah. But as that fuel load lightens, that oversteer condition will get worse.
Behind Raul Boisel. Allis Jr. just ahead in 7th. Quiet race thus far for DeFerrin.
That was +5, the leader, Greg Moore, because he'll spot the colors in his mirror rather than the car, meaning +5. That means he'll go a lap down. He's only 5 seconds in front of Greg Moore.
That was Derek Walker, DeFerrin's car owner, calling the shots from the pits. Just behind Gilles DeFerrin is his countryman, Roberto Moreno, talking with his crew.
They just told him he was +1 on Blundell. Means he's got a 1-second lead over the next position. Because oftentimes on an oval, the guy that's behind you on the track, you may not be racing with him. That's why they tell who it is. Crash 4. Crash up in 4.
2 cars. Walter Salas in the white machine up against the wall. The others is an All-American Racers Toyota Reynard. I'm not sure which of the 2 drivers it is. That's Juan Fangio. Juan Fangio II and Walter Salas, the Brazilian rookie, are in the wall in turn 4.
Fangio had a great warm-up this morning. He was 8th overall. He was very happy with the car. Just acknowledged to the guys he's okay. He's obviously not supposed to run across the leader right there. They will be a little upset with that. See, they quickly put down that cement dust to stop those fluids from rolling out into the race line.
There's another look. 2 cars are. Turn 4 is where it's all been happening here on the Milwaukee Mile. At this point, Fangio already turned around.
Hard to tell what happened there, but more than likely side-by-side racing down in 3 and 4.
From overhead, watch the 2. Ooh,
oh,
Fangio
no.
spun first.
Fangio just spun, and Salas had nowhere to go. We've seen another loose race car, and I've been there myself.
We saw that on the mile at Nazareth when Richie Hearn got caught up in a spin from Parker Johnstone. Greg Moore is in the pits. Jan is there.
Well, we'll see if he can do any better than that 9.9 he did last time. That was a killer stop. They're going to try and get all the fuel in case they could make it to the end. It all depends on how much fuel they get. Whoa, something's not right. Oh, no, he's going to. Oh, my God. There's contact between Bobby Rahal and Greg Moore. And at first, he couldn't get it into gear. 12.03 seconds.
Meanwhile, Tracy is out of here. It was a 9.7 stop for Tracy. The Penske team has delivered again, and once again, he's back in the lead.
Right, but I think the problem there, Gary, was that Greg Moore really had a problem down his pit. It was almost like he could go, but he couldn't get it in gear, couldn't get it moving right away. Lost that little bit of gap. Bobby Rahal blocked him coming in, not on purpose, but just got in there in front of him. He couldn't get out. And he also lost one more spot, it appeared, to Big Mo.
Here comes the second group of cars. Dario Franchitti leading the way as they pit. That will move Alex Zanardi briefly to the front of the queue. There's Mauricio Gugelmin, who got a great stop from the Pac West team and came out just behind Tracy. We'll be back to the Milwaukee Mile in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Romaine. Want to spend a few days with me at the next Sports Illustrated swimsuit shoot? You could make a difference here. Because where I work, it's really hot. So if I get thirsty, you could get me something to drink. It's also really sandy. And maybe you could help me with my different swimsuits.
Nothing to do this fall? You could win a trip to the next Sports Illustrated swimsuit shoot. Apply where you buy Miller Lite.
With new spark plugs, you get improved performance for a while. But only Bosch Platinum has a pure platinum center electrode that's heat fused. So Bosch Platinum reaches its self-cleaning temperature faster for full engine power and improved fuel efficiency over a longer performance life. Which means you'll replace a lot of other things before you change your Bosch Platinums. Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug. The new Firestone tire is Unity technology. The Firestone FT70C stopped an average of 12 feet. The difference is Unity technology in the new Firestone FT70C. Get a $25 certificate from the Sharper Image when you buy 4 Firestone FT70C tires.
The Cart Miller 200 on the Milwaukee Mile is being brought to you by Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. And by Toyota Motorsports. Our minds are always racing. Back live in Milwaukee, once again our pit summary, which has been key thus far in this running of the Miller 200. Again, Paul Tracy came in second, went out in first place. Mauricio Gugelmin went up to second, mostly because Greg Moore, who came in with the lead, had problems getting out of the pits and dropped back to third. Jimmy Vasser stayed in fourth, Michael Andretti in fifth. There is Paul Tracy. Now, Al Unser Jr. came back in the pits after his stop, did not leave. He's standing with Gary Gerald.
Talking with his engineer, Grant Newberry, a problem with the transmission. And, Junior, I know you told Danny Sullivan just before this race started, in order to turn this season around, you had to be able to finish a race. Got to be bitterly disappointing.
Well, I am. I tell you, you know, the guys really worked hard. The car was pretty good. It was going loose on me, and that's why I was falling back from those guys up in front of me. I couldn't seem to get the balance right, and but what finally knocked me out is the transmission broke again.
Did that happen when you left on that pit stop under the yellow?
Settled down, the clutch wasn't there, and it was up the box, and so I had first and second, nothing beyond that.
Thanks, Junior. Bob?
Fourth DNF in 7 races this year for Al Unser Jr. Now let's go back and take a look at what happened to Greg Moore as he tried to get out of the pits.
Okay, pulled in his pits right there, changing all the tires. Down the right of your screens, forcing that fuel hose in there. They're squirting water on it to make sure no fires. And he stalls right there. He waits for a second. It's like he couldn't get a gear. And then right in front of him, Bobby Rahal pulled into his pit, which he rightly should do. But Greg hadn't gotten out of there, and he had to wait on him or hit him, which he couldn't do, and he lost 2 spots.
Now, in fairness to the guys directing him out of the pits, the driver watches his crewman to tell him when it's okay to leave. He is in that first pit, and the wall juts out. It's a very abrupt entrance to the pit. I'm not sure that his crewman could have seen Bobby Rahal entering at pit speeds.
He looked like he had a little bit of a lag, like when they waved him to go, he waited for about a second to go. It was like he couldn't get it in gear.
Jan Bikas has more on Greg Moore.
That's right, Bob. And the one thing that was just off camera, the and Danny, the reason he didn't take off right away, checking with the crew, for some reason he just was not able to get it into gear because they're having a little bit of difficulty with the clutch for Greg Moore. So when the team waved him and said it was clear to go, if he had had it in gear and was ready, he might have made it clear. But as that slight delay showed, he made contact with Rahal.
Greg Moore, 22 years, 40 days old today, 19 days younger than Al Unser Jr. was when he set the mark for youngest ever winner of a kart race. We'll see if Greg Moore can change that record today. We'll be back in just a moment to Milwaukee.
Bissell's Incorporated is the authorized service center for all Canon PC copiers and Sharp Z-Series copiers. Regardless of where you bought your copier, Bissell's Incorporated will take care of all your service and supply needs. Just bring your copier to Bissell's and they'll give your copier the same expert service and attention to detail you expect from the best-known names in the copier business. Bissell's uses only genuine Canon and Sharp parts when repairs are made and always guarantee their work. Bring your copier service and supply needs to Bissell's Incorporated, 83 East Peachtree Street in Corbin.
Have you ever taken time to think, where are my children going to fish or swim? When you consider buying a new boat or pontoon, or if you're just looking to repower your present boat, Honda 4-stroke engine is fuel efficient, quiet, reliable, and good to our environment. You can find the Honda 4-stroke at Pittsburgh Marine in London. It's our responsibility to keep the future bright for our children, so hey, get your Honda 4-stroke engine at Pittsburgh Marine. Power in tune with nature.
Tomorrow's superstars today. The College World Series tonight at 7:30 on ESPN2.
The next round of the PPG Kart World Series takes us to the Motor City, where last year the ITT Automotive Detroit Grand Prix started in the wet and produced the kind of excitement that wet racetracks will. But then it dried, and the Newman-Haas teammates Michael Andretti and Christian Fittipaldi became locked in a battle before Michael came through to win the race, starting his championship charge that lasted all the way to the last race of the year. This year's race coming your way 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time next Sunday on ABC Sports. Back at the Milwaukee Mile, you ride with Roberto Moreno. Here's a look at our field summary. Paul Tracy, the leader. Mauricio Gugelmin runs second. Greg Moore in third. Followed by Jimmy Vasser, Michael Andretti, who started 14th. Patrick Carpentier, who's been going slightly backwards, but the crew has had the opportunity to work on the car. See how the young French-Canadian does when we go green. See the cars out of the race. Most recently, Juan Fangio II and Walter Salas. Fangio spun. Salas got caught up in it. Race recap, the leader is Tracy. The average speed under the green flag, 160.560 miles an hour. Lead swap between two leaders 5 times. 2 of those lead changes on pit stops as the Penske team brought Paul in second place and pushed him back out in the race lead. This is our third caution, 31 laps complete.
Behind you in the race.
Instructions from the pits to Roberto Moreno.
Gets sideways. He gets sideways right there. You see the car going in that direction. Just the back end starting to come around. He turns sideways. Now, Salas does the right thing. He's going to go high. But Fangio goes in the same direction. Clips him right there. Oh, big angle right in there. Took him into the wall. That's exactly what happened to me at Michigan in 1995.
Salas, it took them a while to get him out of the car. He is in an ambulance headed for the infield medical center. There you see his car is on the hook with the tarp underneath to trap any fluids. Waiting for a report on Salas's condition. There is the Mobile Kart Medical Center.
Travels to all the races with us. I'm telling you, it's a real comfort zone for every driver. The safety guys are always there, the same doctors. And it's a fabulous medical center.
No question about that. Down to Gary Gerald.
As we talked at the start of this race, how it could be a 2 or a 3-stop race depending on how yellow flag incidents dictated the unfolding of this event. Right now, it appears to be clearly a 3-stop race. Paul Tracy came in at lap 108, as did all of the others on the lead lap. That means that even with this yellow delay now, they would have to get 92 laps on a 35-gallon tank of methanol. That's virtually impossible. You get great mileage under the yellow, but we fully expect that all these teams are going to be tested one more time. The Penske team, we had them at 10.1 on the first stop, 9.7 on the second stop, and they know right now this race could well be won or it could be lost on that third and final stop.
All right, thank you, Gary. 80 laps remain of 200 scheduled. Paul Tracy is out front. Step away for a moment and be back with more live from West Allis, Wisconsin, home of the Milwaukee Mile.
Go where you wanna go. Leave the boundaries far behind you.
Introducing the all
all-new Goodyear Eagle F1 with racing-inspired dual aqua channels that sweep water away for serious traction in the wet, especially in braking. The new ultra-high-performance Goodyear Eagle F1.
Serious freedom. Goodyear, Goodyear.
In most sports, athletes hurl a projectile at incredible speeds. When you race an IndyCar in the Kart World Series, you are the projectile.
Got an itch to be rich? Get to Texaco. Get a free Race to Millions game piece.
Scratch the card, and you could win $1 million if one of the 11 Texaco drivers wins the race.
Millions in cash and prizes. 1 in 4 could be a winner.
If they win, you could win $1 million.
That's a lot of pressure.
That's a lot of money.
Tonight, Sergei Fedorov and the Red Wings stole Game 1 of the finals, but Eric Lindros and the Flyers will be shooting to even things up. Detroit takes on Philadelphia. Pre-game coverage begins with Quest for the Cup, tonight at 7:30.
Eiserman has the hands of a shooter.
We are back at Milwaukee. The next stop for the PPG Kart World Series will be Detroit. For the Indy Racing League, the next race is the True Value 500 from Texas Motor Speedway. Coverage coming your way Saturday night, June 7th. 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2. Back in Milwaukee, let's review some of our stories we've been following. Can Paul Tracy win 4 in a row? Right now, he is in the race lead, and his team seems determined to put him there, even if he's not. And that would be the 100th for Roger Penske's team. Cut tires, we haven't seen any sign of them. So after 3 days of practice and qualifying, the track appears to be pretty clean. The rise of the rookies, Dario Franchitti has worked his way up to 13th place. While he's at mid-pack, Patrick Carpentier has been right up fighting for the lead. Had mechanical problems that dropped him back to 6th, but that was before the most recent round of pit stops, so Tony Bettenhausen's team has had the opportunity to work on the race car.
Michael Andretti is, of course, up to 5th spot, and Al Unser Jr., as we saw, is out once again of a race.
What a season it's been for Al Unser Jr. And you can hear the disappointment in his voice. The Penske team's success over the years, Roger Penske, of course, the winningest car owner in kart history. 99 wins in 790 starts, 9 series championships, 118 pole positions, and 21 of those victories in 500-mile races. And how many of them at the hands of my booth colleague, Danny Sullivan?
Well, we gave him, what, 12 victories? Had quite a few starts, I don't know. 1 championship, 3 500-mile victories for him.
Well, one of the nice things to see about Penske is the way drivers like yourself are welcomed back into the family at the racetrack.
That's true. And I had, I think with him, I had 17 pole positions.
Well, there you go. Jan Bikas on Mo Gugelmin.
Yes, most people experience push when they get in traffic, but right now Mauricio Gugelmin is saying the car actually gets a little bit loose, but in clean air, it's fine.
Problem is that clean air around here is only for the leader and for a very short time when they get into traffic.
Lights are out on the pace car. Green and yellow flags in the hands of flagman Jim Swintel.
You got some awful sharp restarters right here. Michael Andretti back there. Paul Tracy, look at Big Mo hangs in there. Greg Moore once again seems to lose a little ground. Jimmy Vasser.
Vasser's going to take a shot at Moore as the green waves were underway. Vasser has to time it perfectly, and it looked like he did. No, he can't get him in 1.
The problem with 1 is you got that big arch. Look, Vasser had to go on the brakes. Michael took advantage of it.
Patrick
Carpentier tried. Jimmy cut him off pretty good there.
Carpentier says, no way, I'm going underneath and I'm moving up. Michael Andretti goes into 4th, Carpentier to 5th. And Jimmy Vasser drops back from 4th to 6th in the space of a half lap.
There's some enthusiasm and some confidence in your ability and in your race car.
Moore, there's Andretti. And Carpentier now run 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Michael Andretti from 14th place was shaking his head yesterday, trying to figure out what to do with his race car. looks like the Newman Haas team has a solid mount under their man.
Well, they know they've got a good race car, and when you have a problem, you go back to basics, you go back to the setup that you know has worked in the past.
All-time Milwaukee lap leader is Michael Andretti. His 5 victories at this track, second only to Roger Ward, who won 7 times on the Milwaukee Mile. Glorious 94-year history on this track. Let's move back to Bobby Rahal's car and take a lap or two with him, running in 12th place.
Bobby looks like he's got a pretty good grip on that wheel right there.
Looks like a much smaller steering wheel than Michael Andretti uses as well.
But that's a lot by preference. Drivers sometimes prefer certain size wheels there. You can see right there, Michael's got a much bigger wheel.
From the Miller Eagle high overhead, we look down on the Miller sponsored car of Bobby Rahal. And there is the Miller Eagle. Bobby, of course, is Miller Lite.
I think that guy just puts that on autopilot, just circles there all day.
I watched him for a while yesterday. It looks like good fun.
Or does he have to have that grip just like Bobby did there?
A little staggered, keep making left turns. Bobby Rahal. 16 victories, 16 visits to this racetrack. He has still not won on the Milwaukee Mile. And we have a yellow flag. Yellow flag. Max Pappas has spun and crashed. Coming off of turn 4. I guess there's no surprise there. Calamity Corner at Milwaukee has claimed Max Pappas.
Quickly out of the car there.
Favoring that right foot a little bit.
Gives a little wave to the crowd. He's kind of walking a little gingerly, but
let's take another look at what happened. There he is.
Yeah, same spot. Got in there loose. That's such a fast corner down there. Looks like the car just went loose on him. And once they go on an oval, adios.
Grinding crash. Pappas is scheduled to head for the 24 Hours of Le Mans sports car race during the break between Detroit and Portland on the kart series. He'll be driving a Ferrari there. Still waving at the crowd. Pits are now open for lead lap cars as Max makes the walk.
That's Dr. Terry Trammell right there, keeping an eye on him. You'll want to take him back and have a look at him.
Here comes Paul Tracy. The race leader is in. See what the crews can do here. This taking place on lap 134. Gary Gerald is in the Penske pit.
Well, we were wondering if this would get them within the window to go the distance. I think we've just gotten our answer, as this team that would perform so brilliantly the first 2 times they were tested is in action again. They have not changed a thing on the race car. They just want to get all the fuel. They do. We've got him at 10.56 seconds. Another brilliant stop for Team Penske for Paul Tracy.
But this time he does not come out in front. There's Mauricio Gugelmin for the Pac West team and Michael Andretti, who got out ahead of Tracy.
But I would imagine, just sitting here, I didn't see it, they probably didn't change tires. I would imagine they just filled them up with fuel and got back out quickly. And you saw Paul Tracy change 4 tires. Remember, he did that at St. Louis.
And he had the rubber under him when he needed it late in the race. Gilles de Ferran working the radio, talking to his crew. A pit stop coming up. We'll take this break and return to Milwaukee in just a moment.
In 1996, Ford tore up the tracks of NASCAR.
wrapped up 2 Trans Am championships, took one off-road title after another. And this Ford Indy car won more races than any other Indy car. That kind of winning technology makes its way into the Ford you can drive. In other words, when we win, we make a big production out of it.
Got an itch to be rich? Get to Texaco. Get a free Race to Millions game piece.
Scratch the card, and you could win $1 million if one of the 11 Texaco drivers wins a race.
Millions in cash and prizes. 1 in 4 could be a winner.
If they win, you could win $1 million.
That's a lot of pressure.
That's a lot of money.
We are back at the Milwaukee Mile. Be sure to check out RPM tonight with highlights of today's Miller 200, the NASCAR Miller 500 from Dover, National Hot Rod Association action from Topeka, Kansas, and much more. Tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. RPM tonight on ESPN 2. Back to the packed Milwaukee Mile. We are under yellow. Greg Moore is in the lead. Let's learn more on pit strategy from Gary Gerald.
Well, Gandy Sullivan, you're absolutely right. We've come up here to Pac West and checked in with that team. Mauricio Guzman came in, got the full complement of fuel, but the fresh tires are still on the wall. They did not change for fresh rubber. They felt that that stop at lap 108 was good enough to get them the rest of the way as far as rubber is concerned. So that's the strategy in the Pac West camp. We'll see how it unfolds as the race moves toward conclusion. John?
Well, good news for Walter Salas. He is still in the safety center, but they have said that he is awake and alert. That comes from Dr. Steve Olvey, and they are icing down his left knee. So he will stay in there to get some cool relief on the left knee, but the initial report is excellent for Walter Salas.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. There is Greg Moore, presently shown in the lead. Jimmy Vasser second. Followed by Raul Boisel, Mark Blundell, Bobby Rahal, and Mauricio Guzman. We've still got a long way to go, and we'll be back with more live from the Miller 200 in just a moment.
Go where you wanna go. Leave the boundaries far behind you.
Introducing the all-new Goodyear Eagle F1 with racing-inspired dual aqua channels that sweep water away for serious traction in the wet, especially in braking. The new ultra-high-performance Goodyear Eagle F1.
Serious freedom. Goodyear, Goodyear.
Got an itch to be rich? Get to Texaco. Get a free Race to Millions game piece.
Scratch the card, and you could win $1 million if one of the 11 Texaco drivers wins a race.
Millions in cash and prizes. 1 in 4 could be a winner.
If they win, you could win $1 million.
That's a lot of pressure.
That's a lot of money.
ESPN and NHRA are your ticket to all the action. Live on pay-per-view, the Pontiac Excitement Nationals from Columbus, Ohio, Sunday, June 15th. Call your cable company or satellite provider and go trackside to meet the drivers. Catch all the highlights and instant replays and get the complete stats on every run. It's just like being there. The Pontiac Excitement Nationals, Sunday, June 15th, 10:30 to 6:30. Call now to catch all the action.
We are back live at the Milwaukee Mile. See the kart safety team working on the site of the accident between Juan Fangio. Excuse me, that one was 1 yellow ago. Max Pappas crashed in turn 4. We have 60 laps remaining in the race. Out front is Greg Moore, followed by Jimmy Vasser, Raul Boisel, and Mark Blundell. Bobby Rahal runs 5th, Mauricio Guzman 6th, followed by Michael Andretti, Paul Tracy, Scott Pruitt, and Gilles de Ferran. Gary Gerald.
But once again, another update on that last stop. We checked with Michael Andretti and their team. It was a similar situation to Guzman. They did not go for fresh tires. They stayed with the 4 on the car, simply filled it up with fuel, made no other changes to the handling setup. That gave them the little edge coming out of the pits among those cars that did pit under yellow. Greg Moore, of course, did not stop. So we've got all kinds of scenarios that can yet unfold as we draw toward lap 200, which will conclude this event.
Some of the front-running teams right now obviously hoping for another yellow before the day is out. Here's our field summary, beginning with Greg Moore.
Well, and of course, they could do another strategy, which is wait until almost the end of this yellow, dive into the pits and fill it up so that we don't have any chance of running out of fuel before the end of the race.
59 laps remain. Good strategy, Danny. There you see the cars out of the race. The most recent is Max Pappas. He appears to be okay. We'll be back, hoping for a green flag in just a moment. Stay with us.
Tri-County Mortgage is the 1996 recipient of the Excellence in Housing Award. The friendly staff works hard to secure for you 0 down payments to 5% loans. From VA to Kentucky Housing to Farmers Home to FHA to conventional fixed or adjustable rate loans, as well as refinancing or consolidation loans. It's Tri-County Mortgage.
Your home loan specialist, Tri-County Mortgage. Yeah, yeah, Kane family for now. Everybody, have you heard about Kentucky's low price leader? Where the customer is #1 and our service is second to none. And that's why I keep on telling everybody to go.
Todd Hundley and the upstart Mets fight the fish at Shea. Then, at 10:30, Barry Bonds does it at home, does it in the field. Biggest part of the Bay Area back patrol. He'll lead the G-Men down to L.A. to do with the Dodgers. Marlins Mets at 7:30, Giants Dodgers at 10:30.
Stop. Guzman and Andretti did not get fresh tires, so that could be a factor in the late stages. Pat Patrick's team split the difference. They brought Scott Pruitt in. He got fresh rubber and fuel. He can run at 100% now. Rich Bosell stayed out. He's in the top trio, but he's got to conserve. They said we need another half dozen laps under yellow. We'll see if he can get it.
We have had 4 cautions for a total of 55 laps. As the field begins to come up to speed, the green flag awaits as they come off the corner. Greg Moore leads Jimmy Vasser, Raul Boesel, and we're underway on lap 146.
Jimmy tried that same maneuver again. He tried it one time before, and Greg wasn't going for it. You got that great arc coming from the outside there, and it's really tough on the inside line.
Off turn 4 and onto the straightaway in front of the packed grandstand. Paul Tracy looking for a way around Mauricio Gugelmin, and he has him. A week ago in St. Louis, where Paul Tracy had fresh rubber toward the end of the race when he ran down race leader Patrick Carpentier, who was low on fuel. And now Tracy closes right up on Michael Andretti for 5th.
Look at that. He tried to make a move. Big Mo looks like he's going to go underneath him. Saw how the air got taken away from the front of his car. He went out way high in the gray.
Big time understeer for Paul Tracy.
He was right under Michael Andretti's gearbox. Actually, that's not true because the gearbox is forward now, but it's right. He was right under the back of the car.
Under the back wing. Flying off of turn 2 onto the back straight. Andretti, just ahead of Andretti is Bobby Rahal in the number 4 spot. Paul Tracy looking for his 4th consecutive win. Only one other driver. 6 drivers won 3 in a row, and each of them won a championship. Ride with Michael Andretti closing up on Bobby Rahal. See the gap over the last 3 laps.
See, Michael took another gear there. He shifted. I don't know whether he wants less or more RPM in there.
Paul Paul Tracy continues to close on Andretti. 4th, 5th, and 6th.
What's amazing to me is these guys are racing at speeds faster than Raul's lap record in qualifying.
There is Greg Moore. There is 2nd place Jimmy Vasser. 3rd place Raul Boisel, who did not pit. Then Bobby Rahal, Michael Andretti, and Paul Tracy. See Bobby Rahal's progress through the field from the start. Miles/hour and change, and as you said, Danny, these guys are lapping at or above those speeds. And keep it.
But leave it to the engineers. They always find a way to creep it back up.
Andretti not able to do too much with Bobby Rahal right now. Jan Pikus has more on him.
Yes, their strategy is to try and make it to the end on fuel as well. They did not stop. However, they're not as coy as the Players Courtside team. They say they will need a little bit of yellow for Bobby Rahal to make it to the end without a stop.
I imagine they might be a little bit gun shy about trying that again.
So much ground that they have to gain.
Right along with Raul Boisel taking.
You race somebody that'll rev a little bit higher, pull them a little faster off the corner, more down into the first corner, they'll be able to pass somebody. If they want to conserve maybe only 300 RPM more, but it'll breathe the engine a little bit and save.
Just ahead of Rahal is the lap machine of.
Don't sacrifice position for mileage.
Go ahead and race them. Don't sit back and just try to conserve fuel. That probably means we're going to have to stop anyway. So you might as well race. Don't lose that track position.
We'll turn some quick laps. Paul Jasper now just ahead of Paul Tracy in the bright.
Is Gilles DeFerrin taking a look at those two guys?
Gilles DeFerrin.
That blue and white car right there behind Big Mo's red and white one. The end of this 3-pack.
That's for position. Tracy is 6th. Ugelman 7th. DeFerrin is 8th.
And right behind him is Patrick Carpentier.
Laps now remaining. French-Canadian right now in 9th place with Scott Pruitt behind him. There is the race leader, Greg Moore, who could make a little. We'll be back with more from the Milwaukee Mile in just a moment, so stay with us.
Introducing the 1997 Miller Lite stock car. Sure beats other sedans. The new Miller Lite Indy car. No radio, no heat, but hey, look at that handling. And if it's acceleration you're after, take a look at the Miller Lite Top Fuel Dragster. It leaves everything else at the light. Every Miller Lite car comes with our 16-second roadside assistance plan. We say, shoot, shop, and compare.
Go where you wanna go. Find the road you've never taken.
This is the tire that changed driving forever. The all-season Goodyear AquaTread with the advanced deep groove aqua channel that sweeps water away for serious traction in the wet, especially in braking. Goodyear AquaTread.
Serious freedom. Goodyear, Goodyear.
Green Acres is the place to be. Farm living is the life for me.
I just adore a penthouse view. Darling, I love you, but give me Park Avenue.
fresh air.
Ford Explorer. It's at home anywhere.
The Cart Miller 200 on the Milwaukee Mile is being brought to you by Miller Lite, who reminds you that anything can happen at Miller time. By Goodyear, #1 in tires. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? Welcome back to Milwaukee. Ride along with Michael Andretti. That's Raul Boesel. Just is third, Andretti fourth.
And right in front of them is P.J. Jones. And he's been hooked up all day. His car's running well. He runs right with these guys.
Andretti takes the position, and he can keep it. Gary Gerald has more on Boesel.
So I think Raul Boesel, Bob, is a victim now of that fuel-saving process. They had to have him go to 6th gear, reduce the revs a little bit. They're really trying to lean it and nurse it, and that's really tough with 30-some laps to go. Jimmy Vasser, meanwhile, his crew has indicated they've also cut it so very close. And they said, frankly, in round numbers, we think we need 5 to 6 laps of yellow. Time running out. Jan?
Michael Andretti has been very quiet on the radio today. Happy with his car. He likes the handling. They haven't been making changes right now. It's all up to Michael.
Michael is now in 3rd place, hoping to move up the podium. Jimmy Vasser is ahead of him, and then race leader Greg Rohr out front. From a 14th starting position, Michael has come to 3rd. He has finished 7th or better in 11 of his 12 appearances on this racetrack. And many of those have been wins, of which he has 5 or 2nd or 3rd place positions. Those were the last pit stops for each of the contending cars, and his group, I should say. Ray Hall underneath P.J. Jones on the front straightaway. Tracy, Gugelman. Tracy still taking that wide entry. Now Gugelman looks down the inside of Tracy, hoping to use P.J. Jones if he can, but he can't.
Well, look at that. P.J. Jones just pulled away from him in the corner. I think they thought he was going to hold him up, and he just pulled it out.
Son of the great Parnelli Jones, P.J. returns to the racetrack where he began his PPG Kart World Series career for Dan Gurney a year ago. Looks like that Toyota program is coming around. Dario Franchitti leads this train of cars. Franchitti in 14th place. Bobby Rahal goes around him. And Scotsman was a factor in St. Louis a week ago until his gearbox broke. Tracy drawing away from Gugelman now, and DeFerrin as well.
Traffic plays such an important part here. Get a little break in traffic.
See how the gap is closing for second between Vasser and Andretti. There they are. Vasser on the left in the red car. On the right is Andretti, continuing his charge. Remember, he came from 12th place to victory in the season opener on the oval in Homestead, Florida. Today he started 14th. Right now he runs in 3rd. Using Ford XD power, Jimmy Clark gave Ford its first victory. Lotus chassis. In fact, the next man to bring Ford a victory on this track was the very next year. Parnelli Jones did it in another Lotus. That was with the double overhead cam Ford.
Let's also not forget that Jimmy Vasser started 12th. He was way back. He made a great move early on, got a lot of space, and he's been battling up there at the front all afternoon.
18 cars remain in the running of the 27 starters. More on Vasser now with Gary Gerald.
Well, the feeling down here among the guys in this crew in the radio conversation and what we've heard is that it's not very optimistic. Definitely field, they're going to have yellow. In fact, one of the crew members said, I think when we rolled the dice, we rolled snake eyes. They know they're running out of time, and it looks more and more like Jimmy Vassar, running second, going to have to make a stop for a splash of fuel.
Jimmy Vassar has finished the last 23 races consecutively.
20 to go. -3, the leader.
Michael Andretti being told by his pit where he is and how far there is still to go in the race. 20 laps remaining.
Remember, -3 is -3 seconds.
See what he can do about that. We'll take a quick timeout and return in a moment. It is Vassar and Andretti. When we return, we'll take you all the way to the checkered flag. Stand by for more from the Milwaukee Mile.
It's incredible. During our 40 million split fire celebration, you'll save $1 on every plug. Every split fire. It's incredible.
The engine is everything.
What? It's the driver.
A driver will never see a finish line without a great engine.
The greatest engine will never see a victory lap without a great driver.
At least they agree on Haviland Formula 3 motor oil, the same oil you can buy right off the shelf. And also try Haviland Extended Life Freeze.
The engine's the first thing with the finish line.
Not in Indy cars.
We are back live at the Milwaukee.
Pulls out, came off turn 4, very strong. Dives right down underneath him.
Jimmy Vassar, the reigning series champion, may be running in fuel conservation mode, and we think that may be the situation for Greg Moore, the race leader. You see him just in front of Andretti, who is on a charge. Let's learn more about Moore's situation. Jan Bikas.
Yes, the crew is looking very nervous. They are radioing to Greg Moore saying you've got to turn down the fuel. They are going to try and make it to the end, but they know.
Frustrating for a driver if you've got to turn that fuel mixture down and you're going, why me? He just wants to race. But unfortunately, it has a lot to do with when they stopped and tanked him up.
11 laps to go. Next time under the start-finish stand. There you see how the battle has closed. Clear track right now.
Paul Tracy saw his car wiggle there. He would have had to lift. It got a little loose coming off the 4.
Gugelmin has a run at him down the inside and takes 6th place.
All it took was that getting a little sideways, lifted off there. Big Mo had a run on him, lost the spot.
Al Unser Jr. is out of the race with gearbox problems. Paul Tracy, as you see, giving up all kinds of ground to Mauricio Gugelmin. Tracy, his 3-race winning streak is on the line. It appears at the moment that the Penske 100th victory may have to wait. Back with Michael Andretti. There's Greg Moore just ahead. Andretti drawing closer as the laps continue to run down. There's Moore's crew. Jan Bikas.
The conversations they're having with Greg is really tough for a driver. They say, don't let Michael pass you, but stay in 6th gear because we have to save fuel. And Danny Boy, that's a tough job because Michael should be able to run in 5th.
Andretti draws even closer.
That really hurts him because if he's running that top gear, right when he gets into traffic like here, it doesn't pull as much coming off, doesn't have as much RPM. It's a little tougher to pass those slow cars. Look at this, Michael's got a run on him.
7 laps to go. It'll be 6 next time across the stripe.
He really wants to get in front of that car that's just in front of Greg Moore. He wants to put that gap between him and Michael.
Moore going for his first ever victory. Same situation we had a week ago in St. Louis when Paul Tracy was chasing Patrick Carpentier. Now it's Greg Moore being pursued by Michael Andretti. Jan Bikas.
Now they have told him, go ahead and use 5th gear if you have to. So maybe now they're on a more level playing field.
5 laps. They must know then how much fuel they've got in there for from the onboard telemetry said, hey, we can make it. Go ahead. That's great news for Greg Moore.
36 career wins for Michael Andretti.
Bad news for Michael Andretti, but great for Greg. Sorry to interrupt.
Of course, he can't know that. All he knows, there's traffic ahead of the man he's chasing, Greg Moore.
And traffic plays a big part. You've got a couple of good guys. Look, Michael's going to try around the outside.
Ooh, there's Brian Herta.
But Brian had the outside, and Greg got the advantage.
I was about to say that Herta and Alex Zanardi were going wheel to wheel in the corner just as Moore and Andretti arrived.
And these guys have some laps on their tires, so they don't have an advantage one way or the other in terms of one guy having fresh tires.
3 laps to go, and Andretti continues to draw up on Moore. Second-generation racing star Michael Andretti looking for his second victory of the year. There will be 2 to go this time by.
2 laps, Mike. 2 laps.
And they are so calm on that radio from the pits. 2 laps, Michael.
You notice, of course, Michael didn't answer him. He's awful quiet right now. He's got his hands full trying to find a way. Every little bit, trying to make up a little bit on Greg Moore. Force him into a mistake.
Meanwhile, Moore, just 22 years old, looking for his first career win. Final lap, Moore leads Andretti. 2 corners remain for Michael to try to close up on Moore. Only 22 starts in Moore's resume. Could this be the day for Greg Moore and the players team from Canada? I don't think Michael has enough time. Moore thinks he has it won, and with his fist in the air, he takes the checkered flag and resets the record as youngest winner of a PPG Kart World Series event. Greg Moore went up against the fastest of the fast in Michael Andretti and beat him for his first career win, and you can see him in the car. He can't wait to get out. Jan Bikas is standing by.
You're so excited, obviously. You just about wore out those tennis shoes. Got to be a great thrill for a dad today.
Oh, it is. You know, we've been so close so many times and had a couple taken away from us. And just, everybody really worked. The whole players team just really worked for this one.
Hey,
great victory.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And look at Jimmy Vasser come over to give a thumbs up to Greg Moore. Vasser unofficially finishes 3rd behind Michael Andretti. But this day is all about the young man from Maple Ridge, British Columbia. Let's get down to Gary Gerald.
It is pandemonium down here. Greg Moore, you've just realized a dream.
Yeah, it's about time. You know, we've been real close a few times, but I'm just so happy. I mean, everyone on my team did a great job, and we had about probably a cup full of fuel left there. You know, Steve Chalice and Alex Turman's my 2 engineers. They did just a great job. I'm just so happy.
The youngest now winner in this type of history. The feeling that you have, tell me about those last few laps, because I know you knew that Michael Andretti in that black and white number 6 was right there.
Yeah, I knew Mikey was back there, but I knew I was a little bit faster than him. It was just a question of track.
Did you have to conserve fuel, and when did they tell you you were going to be okay? How late to go?
About 12 laps to go, they told me I was okay, and I was actually lifting down from about pitch straight down to the turn 1, and it just paid off. I mean, we did a great job all weekend.
In traffic all day long. Any close calls for you? Any major concerns?
There was a couple of close calls, but, you know, we got it all, and I'm just so pleased. All my guys, they deserve this.
All of Canada, all of North America saluting you right now, the youngest ever. Kick off the celebration, pal.
Thanks a lot, bud.
Jan?
Michael Andretti, obviously not as excited as Greg Moore, but you've got to be pleased with that race. You put all kinds of pressure on him. Did you think?
They made really, but you know, they took a gamble and it paid off for them.
At what stage did you know that you were in trouble? Could you tell, or do you still think he had a shot on that final lap?
I was pushing him all the way to the end because I was there in case he bobbled. All I wanted was a little bobble and I would have had him, but I guess he bobbled down on the cool down laps, so we were half a lap short.
Perfect timing for Greg, not so good for Michael.
Congratulations to Greg Moore. By 19 days, he becomes the youngest winner in the history of the PPG Kart World Series. Michael Andretti finishes 2nd. Jimmy Vasser in 3rd. There you see 7th through 12th. A battle all the way to the end, and once again, pit strategy at the closing moments, Danny Sullivan, was the difference?
Well, it was a difference. You just got to take that gamble. Those guys knew what fuel mileage. What a great race. He was there all day long, leading, losing it in the pits, got it back. Those guys were so good.
Gary Gerald is standing by with Mr. Consistency.
24 straight races completed, back on the podium, a lot of points. What were your chances in those final laps, knowing that everybody was so iffy on fuel?
Wow, we were just trying to save as much as we could. I was running a map 2, real lean, wasn't running real strong, and letting off way before I got in the corner. But hats off to my Target Chip Ganassi racing team. They got me in and out of the pits real quick, and Julian Robertson, Tom Anderson with the figures on that one. I think we had about 2 eye drops worth of fuel left in the car.
Headed for the podium, Jimmy Vasser in the 3 spot.
Congratulations to him as well. But this day is all about Greg Moore, who beats Michael Andretti and Jimmy Vasser. Now, here are the points after 7 of 17 races. Paul Tracy still has the lead. Michael Andretti leaps up into 2nd place. Our next stop will be the ITT Automotive Detroit Grand Prix from Belle Isle Park in Detroit. Join us on ABC Sports. Coming up next, NCAA Baseball, the College World Series Game 5 from Omaha, Nebraska. I'm Bob Varsha for Danny Sullivan, Gary Gerald, and Jan Bikas. Here are some of the highlights of our weekend here at the legendary oval, the Milwaukee Mile. Paul Tracy rewriting the record books in terms of speed, but when it came down to it, the force was with Greg Moore, youngest winner ever in the PPG Kart World Series. We'll see you next week on ABC Sports from Belle Isle in the Detroit River. So long from the Milwaukee Mile.